Welcome to the Saints That Serve podcast,
where each week your hosts dive into the crossroads of faith,
culture,
and the unknown. Christ is Lord,
and the kingdom is now. We are the Saints That Serve. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the STS podcast. I'm Jairus, and with me I have
Johnny,
the Johnster. No one's ever called you Johnster.
the Johninator,
He's such a Johnster. It makes no sense.
Johnny Guy at West High.
You did that too well. Anyways, welcome to the STS podcast. Again, I'm Jairus. That's Johnny.
That's me.
And this is our second episode.
Numero dos.
But if you were looking at the time between the first episode and second, you would have thought it was a whole year. It was like a month.
Yeah.
It's like a month.
Yeah.
I've been sick, busy with work. You've been busy with work. You're not sick, but...
Yeah. Well, but I mean, like, okay, it's been forever for us, but
for you,
them,
it's going to be a couple of days.
Yeah.
So that's funny.
But if you can tell that we sound different, it's because we've matured by 3 weeks instead of 1.
Technically, podcast maturing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, hope you enjoyed this one. Hope it's not terrible. And with that, we got some announcements. You got some announcements, John?
I got some announcements. The main one is just to, if you want to jump in on our weekly Bible study, we're going through the book of Genesis. So reach out to us at our email, which is
Saints That Serve at Gmail. That's googlemail.com.
Yeah, pretty much. And we're making a covenant right now. We are gonna break that
You're back.
episode. No, I mean, we're gonna, because most podcasts only make it to 5 episodes.
Right.
What is the percentage? It's like 80% of podcasts
only have 5 episodes.
only have 5 episodes.
If you want a real example, why don't you look back at
Don't quote me on that. I don't know that for sure.
I mean, I believe it. Go look at the R2 Cents podcast.
Yeah, we only made it. We literally
Made it
episode
to
5 and then cut it off. But we are gonna go. We're going.
I'm going to commit even further, right? Not 5, not beyond 5, not beyond 50. Beyond 500 episodes.
That's right. When we reach our 501 episode, Christ will return. No.
Jeez.
So be on the lookout.
No, it's going to be, welcome to the 500th.
Yeah,
trumpet sounds.
The horn sounds, and Christ descends from the skies.
Here's Christ coming back. That's awful. I'm sorry.
It's more of a... boop, boop, boop. No, that's awful. That was awful. I can't do horn sounds because I'm not a horn.
Give that to us one more time. I'm totally soundbiting that out. So anyways, you got more announcements than that?
So that's pretty much it. Just that we're going to be a regular podcast and we're going to regularly study the Word of God. But yeah, we're getting into Genesis. So this will be week number 2. And we'll be still be in the creation story. So just jump in and join the conversation.
Jump in like Ray Gunn.
Yeah.
Do you know who Ray Gunn is?
Not a clue.
Oh my gosh, hold on. We're going to get off a little tangent here. Okay, so what the Olympics has been over for a while at this point.
Okay, I take it back. I know who it is.
I had to talk about the Olympics. Is it Ray Gunn? It might be.
I know who you're talking about, and yes, I'm pretty sure it's Ray Gunn is her freestyling name.
Okay, so we are specifically at this moment talking about the breakdancing
Australian.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
It's as Olympics as a whole. It is the breakdancing competition at the Olympics is what we're talking about.
Very first time it's happened, I believe. Right.
Probably the last time too.
Yeah, but this was its first year, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at the Olympics it was the first time having breakdancing, and then I believe after those shenanigans, it's probably not happening again. So
it's so depressing that one person ruined an entire event.
So have you heard all of the drama behind it, though?
I've heard that. The only thing that I know is that she did so bad, all of her stuff at the Olympics became a meme.
Okay, so get this, right? All speculation, I am not quoting or citing any information. This is what I'm understanding based off what I have seen, not confirmed or denied. This is like one of our cryptids. Ray Gunn is a cryptid at this point.
Ray Gunn is the cryptid that we're going to dive into.
Oh, man. So, she has a degree in Australia. She has a degree in breakdancing.
Okay, yeah. All right. I know the backstory to all this, like that she is a part of her husband is the commissioner or whatever. And
so
he's a teacher.
She was a teacher she has a degree in breakdance studies. So they approached her to form a team or a committee that would then pick out eligible breakdancers in Australia to compete in the Olympics. So instead of doing that, she formed the committee, but all the committee members were her friends and family.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of looking for talented people, they just put her on.
Yeah.
So that's why you see her out there doing some of the dumbest moves. She's out there hopping like a rabbit and like crawling on the ground.
I have to say that, like, just because of all the in response to everything, it's legit and she's not trolling.
Mm-hmm.
But talk about like the epitome of narcissism.
Right?
It's like, I'm so good at breakdancing, I'm going to make sure I go to the Olympics.
It is me. I am the athlete.
And then she gets there and everyone's like, who is this? This is the worst person ever.
One of my favorite things is a moment that she does like the lamest like move. I can't even describe it. Of like put her hands up, like after crawling on the ground, jumps up, puts her hands up. And the whole audience is like, okay. You see some people clapping or whatever. But then she has a hype man behind her and he's just like, yeah! It's the funniest thing. Just to see like her hype guy, like, how do I save this? Yeah!
Dude, I'm not going to lie. Australia is a silly place.
It is a silly, silly place. I watched Mad Max last night. Furiosa.
Yeah.
Last night.
Mm-hmm.
That movie is so silly. It's just so silly.
Silly.
I can't tell you if it was a good movie or not. I fell asleep watching it. I got to finish it. But it's just so... If we want to get out of Olympic corner into movie corner real quick.
I'll allow it.
Okay. This is okay. Whoop. That was me, Ray J, jumping over to the corner. Mad Max, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, I believe is what it's specifically called, is about 45 minutes too long.
Really?
It takes them 45 minutes to do any action truly in that movie.
Mm.
So, like,
compared to the last
one where it starts in action and the action doesn't end until the credits roll.
Yeah.
It is one of my favorite movies. That movie is fantastic. This is a prequel to that. And they have all of these characters that are in... That's the problem, too, with prequels. And except for Star Wars, which actually kind of paid off pretty well.
What have I done?
But, like, you have no... You're not invested in the movie at all because you know that this character called Furiosa that's in... This is a prequel, and she's in the next movie.
Yeah. And
then you have a villainous character who is in this movie, who is in the next movie. It's like, there's no stakes. They're going to live unless you throw one of those weird prequel curveballs where it was in another universe or some nonsense.
Yeah, but like some stories like that, like Star Wars, are good because like the character survives, but you enjoy it because of the story. Like it does a good job of explaining how they got to where they're at.
Here's the thing about Star Wars that works. They started with really one character that you were familiar with.
Yeah.
2, Yoda, Anakin. And they built... Do I? And Obi-Wan, right. But they have familiarity. Who else?
R2-D2.
R2-D2, C-3PO. You know what I'm saying, though. Like, your main focus is Anakin, right?
Yeah.
And they have enough built around that in a trilogy, building towards it, that you are still, and they do such a good job, that even though you know it's coming, it still hits you emotionally. They did a good job of taking something you know that's going to happen, and it's like, we don't know how it happens.
Yeah.
But with this, it's just like, with Furiosa, it's like, I don't think I care, right?
Yeah.
And that's saying something, because when the action does happen, it's pretty good. It's not as good as Fury Road, but it's still okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I think with Star Wars, like the beauty of Star Wars is the original trilogy is like from a big view perspective, it's about the redemption of Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
He is the bad guy, and this is how he got to be the good guy at the very end.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's great. And then in the prequel trilogy, they're taking Anakin Skywalker, and it's like he's the good guy, and this is how he becomes the bad guy.
Right.
And they're focusing on that overall story. And there's a bunch of other things that are tied into that. But
right. They start a story there and end it while leading into something else as well.
Yeah. I think
that's why it also works, because the main focus in Furiosa is this character, right?
Yep.
But when they take not a character, but events, and show you what happened with that character with Star Wars, it works. It's rare to see prequels that work. Yeah. And say what you will about them, they are kind of goofy and silly and over the top, with like adding Jar Jar in that first one. But there's so much in it that's also really good.
Yeah.
I think what that suffers is them filming, the actors, the majority of Clone Wars is filmed on blue screens. I think...
Yeah.
When you have full sections of that movie that are full CG created events, I think that, like, if you look at it, there's like a good 20 minutes of that movie that no actors are actually in. It's all clone troopers shooting and fighting, all that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It works. It can work. Look at Avatar. The Way of Water and...
Okay.
Oh, sorry, not The Last Airbender.
The Last Airbender?
No, Avatar. It's James Cameron's Avatar.
Yeah.
The first one is not the majority of CG. The second one is. Watch that movie and be blown away at how you are believing what you're seeing. Full CG movies can work. In this case, it staggers a little bit because these actors are in front of blue screens and they don't see what they're supposed to be acting in front of. They just said, essentially, go. Yeah. So that's why you do have moments that are a little bit crappy, but it still ended up working out.
We'll be doo-doo on the woo-woo.
Big doo-doo on the woo-woo.
Yeah.
But like I think like famous moment of that is when Anakin bites an apple. It's a CG apple and it's nowhere near his face and the bite just kind of disappears. Or it was Padme. It's when they're having lunch together.
Yeah.
And just stuff like that. There's a lot of like small stuff. Maybe it's just because it's nostalgic for us. I don't know. That's maybe a topic. We'll get off of that now and maybe bring that up later. Is the Star Wars prequels good movies? We'll talk about that.
We'll talk about that at a later date. But just so we're all on board with it, they're good in comparison.
It's when you look
later on Star Wars movies.
The episodes 7, 8, and 9 look good but written poorly. And I think that they're written well. The prequels are written well and they look poor. And you can get away with that because if the story is written well.
What is that?
I don't know.
Oh, I think it's the pump.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we're good.
Technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But we're moving on.
Yeah. But
But
in Star Wars prequels' defense, everything was what that was.
Yeah.
CGI, effects, and everything. Like, all the movies were doing it because it was so new.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they were... Well, it's not that it was new. It's just it became very popular at the time those movies were being created.
Right.
So it's like, go to that time frame, early 2000s, and look for a movie that...
Didn't have a tremendous amount of CG.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'm 100% on full practical movies, by the way.
Dude.
Practical effects will make your movie last forever.
Yeah.
100%. Watch John Carpenter's The Thing. The first one. Children don't actually watch that movie.
Adults only.
Adults only. But if you look at how they created the creatures and monsters in that movie, it's full practical. That movie will last forever. But you watch a movie with bad CG, that movie will not last forever in the sense of holding up and being believable. You have movies from the 60s, 70s that are better looking visually than movies that exist today because they put the time, effort, and money into creating effects that are practical. Practical meaning that there's no CG shots. They have a monster in it that is full real monster. Not real monster, but you know what I mean.
Or is it?
It might be.
Dude, what if that was just the cover? Like, they were all
these are all real creatures.
Yeah, they're like, oh no, it's makeup.
It's all makeup, but it's really just like monsters sitting there like, I gotta get paid.
Yeah, it turns out that Hollywood's just like the portal to the underworld where all the monsters live, and whenever they get out, they just
100% believe it. That is true.
Yeah.
Hollywood is the cesspool underground monster.
We're gonna stop right there because in a future episode we're gonna talk about Hollow Earth and that
Hollow Earth connected to Hollywood.
Yeah. Dun dun. No. Anyways, so
I love how we got off on a tangent rant for 21 minutes, and this is not what we planned on talking about.
Yeah. We didn't want to talk about Star Wars tonight, but we did. Well, okay, apparently we did want to talk about it. We did not plan on talking about it.
I'll talk about Star Wars.
Dude, you want to talk about Star Wars? Just
don't force me to do it.
That would be funny if you just like did a video, like the prank videos where someone's hiding with the camera and watching for the reaction, and just walking up to groups of people like eating outdoors or at a coffee shop and just walking up like, yeah, do you want to talk about Star Wars? And just see how the people respond.
We need to make like a Instagram reel or TikTok or whatever, and just that one time it has to be you though with that voice,
just walking up. Do you want to talk about Star Wars? Yeah.
And there's like, you just see her slowly reaching in her purse for her can of mace. And if it's a dude slowly reaching into his pocket for his can of mace.
And then I just do the Obi-Wan Kenobi and tells, you're not looking for mace.
And then she goes, yeah, I am.
Anyways, talking about mace.
Oh my!
And how you sprayed into your eyes.
That's so good. I'm sorry I'm laughing at it. That's
there
really
is
good.
Something about eyes that you wanted to talk about.
I love that segue.
You're welcome.
Okay. Is the floor mine?
No, I still own it, but you can talk.
Would you call this a floor, or is this the slab?
I mean, it's a slab pour, but it's a floor.
Agree to disagree. Eyes. So, Johnny approached me and said, I'm going to let you have the topic for this week. And I said, I got this.
I'm going to allow you to have it.
And I said, I got this.
I got it.
Okay, so the idea or the theory, and I found like I came up with this in my mind years ago and found out later that this is actually something people...
Trademark pending.
Trademark pending. No, I would have lost the trademark mark a long time ago. But yeah, like I've asked this question several times to people to get their opinion on how they feel about this.
Yeah.
And then found videos on other people talking about eyes. And I'll just get into it. I'm sorry, I'm ranting. So the idea, idea.
This is going to be long.
This is going long. I'm padding for time, even though we're over. So the idea is that
eyeing the clock.
What? I'm eyeing the clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So, anyways, so the idea is that we all see color, correct? Color is all around us: orange, yellow, black, and white. We are precious in His sight. But
how did you know that that's what I was going to say?
You were going to end up doing that?
Yeah.
Probably because Jesus is king.
Jesus is king.
So we see colors everywhere. But the theory is...
Repent and believe.
Do it?
Repent and believe.
Repent and believe. Can I please do that?
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm already getting myself off track, and now you're not helping.
All right.
So the idea is we all see color, unless you're colorblind. And that's important. You are taking colorblind out of this equation.
Yeah. Okay.
So the idea is the color that you see the same color that I see? So this is a terrible example on an audio podcast, but I am holding up a white object right now.
Which is?
Well, it's my laptop charger, but
no, the absent of color.
In this case, fine. Hand me your cup. Okay. So this cup is blue. Me and you both can agree that this cup is the color blue.
Correct.
Right. Now, we could argue, is it teal, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Not teal, but different shades of blue.
Correct.
But we both agree this is blue.
Yes.
But is the blue that I'm seeing the same thing that you are seeing as blue?
What? How would you describe it?
How would I describe it? Well, I'm describing this as blue. The idea behind it is that...
This is where all the interior design people got super mad and we lost them.
Yeah, right? We had one listener who's in...
What tone? What shade? What?
I need to know what blue
ambience
we're talking about.
What volume?
So the idea is when we grow up, when we're growing up, being taught how to walk, to talk, and to communicate, we teach the kids, the children, what a color is.
Yeah.
You don't just sit there and say, what's this? And they automatically know that's blue. You point at, that's blue. Look at that. That's blue. Right? All the time. Blue, look at that. And you teach your kid that's blue.
Yeah.
So, again, you could be seeing something different. But because all of visual color is taught, you can't describe a color. You use colors to describe other things.
Mm.
So for that to be taught, it's not inconceivable that the color that you are seeing is different because all color is taught.
Yes.
Yes. Are you with me?
No, yeah, I get where you're coming from. Yeah.
So I've heard people, well, what about blind people? They don't see that color.
Yeah.
Again, that is the lack of that color. They're not seeing it. Does not mean that what other people who see color can and cannot see the same thing.
Yeah.
So now I believe that maybe on a spectrum, like looking at orange, blue, it's not like we can all agree seeing in black and white, you can tell that other colors are darker than other colors. So we can both look at it and say that's black, but that's not going to look like blue either way for us. So it's almost like your color wheel spectrum in your eyes has been rotated or is rotated when it's created. So is the colors that we are seeing different?
Mm. Yeah, and there are some people that they're not colorblind, but they can't see certain colors.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I think color blindness as a whole is only you can't see specific colors, or like you can't see green but yellow is prominent. Like, so there's different forms of color blindness.
Well, that's what I'm saying is the colored blindness is you can only see in shades of gray, but
I don't think that it actually exists. The where all you see is gray. I think that your eyes
different shades of gray. Like the pigmentation, you're missing a pigmentation in your eyes so that you can't make out colors. So there are some people that are missing certain pigmentations.
How many shades of gray are there?
I don't know.
Like 50?
Maybe more, maybe less.
Okay.
But like there are some people that can't see red.
Right.
And it's just because they're missing, according to science, they're missing the pigmentation to be able to perceive it. So it's just kind of a gray color.
Right, but that's for just that color.
Correct. So people that are colorblind, they see all colors as gray.
I disagree. I don't think.
You can disagree. That's just what it is. Like,
oh, okay.
That's the official stance of colorblindness is you can't.
People in the comments tell me whether I'm wrong or not. I don't think that actually exists, seeing just gray. I believe that there's different forms of color blindness that are what you're saying, that you're not seeing a specific color, or maybe with what I'm saying, you're seeing that color as a different color.
But I'm saying, like, you may see it. Okay, we both see the cup. We both say it's blue.
Right.
We've been told that that's what blue looks like.
Right.
Someone who is colorblind, they would walk up and they'd say, I don't know, because I'm colorblind. And so if you say it's blue, I'll take your word for it. It just looks gray to me. You know, we take our
but we've taught gray
because
as well.
But I'm saying because we've seen blue, and when we were taught as children, blue is the word to describe this color. We call it blue. Mm-hmm. But someone who's colorblind, it doesn't matter how many times you point at it and say blue, they're not going to be able to distinguish this blue cup from that purple wall to this black computer to
that brown seat.
Like it's all just gray. And so they can't differentiate. They can't tell the difference between it all. So they got to take your word for it. Whereas there are some people that they can't see blue, but they can see the seat, they can see the wall, they can see the computer, and they can tell you those colors. They just can't tell you what this color is. They'll just call it gray because that's all they see it in.
But gray is taught.
Yeah, it's taught.
Yeah, like all colors, it's taught.
For a blind.
So how do we differentiate? Okay, if my theory was real, or if this is a real thing, right?
Yeah.
So again, your eye color will. In that sense, it's still turned, it's still different. You're just missing the ability to see specific colors.
Are we talking about colorblind people, or are we talking about people that are missing?
Anybody. So to differentiate, because I've heard this argument that, well, what about colorblind people? Again, it still applies to colorblind people. They are just lacking the ability to see that specific color. And that goes back to, I don't think that there is a form of colorblindness where you don't see any color.
Okay.
I'm done.
Okay.
No. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, I mean, they see something because they're not blind. It's just, well, and I think that's I'm not a doctor. I'm not a professional in this. But the way it's been explained to me is they do see, like, basically, they can't tell the difference between any colors. All colors look the same. So everything is one color to their eyes. And that's why it's hard for colorblind people to drive, because they've got to memorize green is on the bottom and red's on the top, because they both just look like a flashing light. They couldn't tell you what color it is, though.
Did you know there's no cure for most causes of colorblindness? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out if seeing only gray is a thing.
That's just what people have told me. Once again, I'm not an expert in this field. But yeah, to my understanding, people that are colorblind, they can't distinguish colors. So they kind of just staple, yeah, it's all gray. Or if they listen to Coldplay, it's all
yellow.
Yeah.
It's gray color. How would I word this?
And it was all gray.
Is gray color blindness real? I'm just going to search that. Oh, okay. It says colorblind people don't always see in shades of gray. In fact, this form of color blindness is rare. So it is real.
Interesting.
It is real, but it's rare. Because my thought behind that, sorry, excuse me, is that would make your whole eye broken, but not fully broken in the sense that you can't see at all.
You got a broken eye.
Again, you have a defect that doesn't allow you to see a specific color.
Yeah.
But going back to it, that color wheel's turned. Is your blue the same as my blue?
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, because color is taught. Because we both agree, essentially we're both agreeing upon that being blue, but there's no way to fully, truly tell if that blue is the same as your blue. My blue is the same as your blue.
Yeah, but we're getting into dangerous waters with like my blue is different from your blue kind of a deal. Because it's like there's got to be, I mean, there is truth and fact, and there isn't.
There's truth and fact in what I believe.
Okay, but
I'm sorry that sounded weird, but there's truth and fact, and then what I believe in my mind, right?
Correct. So that's what I'm saying is there's a blue, the color blue, and that's what the color is. It's blue. And now it gets into, well, yeah, I'll agree that it's blue, but I think that my blue is different from your blue because I want it to be or because I think it is. Don't you see? Like it's silly because it's just colors, but it is a step
doesn't matter
to my truth,
right?
You know, which is something that we're kind of fighting against right now as Christians. Is it's not your truth or my truth; it's the truth. What is the truth? And so then we got to come around to it, like things in life, like colors. Is there just the color red, the color blue? Or does everyone get to perceive it differently and however they want to? Or is it, this is what the color is, and you have to get on board with it if you want to live in truth.
In Red Town.
Yeah. But, you know, because taking that argument and applying it in all areas of life, like, you know.
I will say this, right? Because it is just a hypothesis and it's something silly to argue over. And we can come up with hypotheses in biblical truth. Sorry, this is not biblical truth, but biblical stories and say, oh, you know, what if Noah's Ark was built of this wood, even though it says specifically what kind of wood is built of. But what if it was actually this? Like, when we get, like you said, biblically granular, deep into things, you start to become distracted with the point of what you're supposed to be reading and what you're learning about and supposed to be gleaning from it. So I do agree with that on that aspect of it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, if you're not careful, it's beyond silly because it then becomes in the way.
Yeah. And taking the colors and kind of making, you know, God's truth and man's truth. Let's look at a more current scenario where rainbows have been around for thousands of years, a couple of thousand, like 3,000 or 4,000 years. Because
just round it up to 5 just to be safe.
I'm a young earther, if people couldn't tell. But no, like we get rainbows after. Sorry,
you're fine.
after the flood,
Right.
with Noah. And it's called God's bow in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
And it's his promise to humanity that he will never utterly destroy the earth with a flood again.
Mm-hmm.
That's God's promise to man. And it stands as a reminder, hey, I destroyed the entire earth because of how wicked it was. And I washed all that wickedness away. And I promise not to do it again with water. And it shows up in the sky every time it rains, or anytime that we get that mixture of
Sun
reflecting through water in the sky. We
S-O-N.
Yeah. Yeah. What?
The sun.
The sun.
Yeah.
And to believe. But we get reminded of that promise. Like, hey, God could have been done, but he decided to let mankind continue.
Right.
After that.
And look how we did.
And so now here we are at the 21st century, and a rainbow's been hijacked by humanism to no longer, or they're trying to hijack it, but they're trying to say that it no longer is
represents God, but it represents something God is against.
It no longer represents God's promise to man to never flood the earth with water. It represents diversity of sexual orientation and gender. And that's not true. It does not represent that. The rainbow is God's bow, and it's not pointed down on the earth in judgment. It's pointed up in the sky for peace. And it's saying that God will not flood the earth again because of its wickedness. And here we are in the 21st century, and humanity is trying to hijack it and say, no, God doesn't exist. And this rainbow weird thing that we see in the sky, we're going to use it to represent our ideology because we like it and we want it to. And we're going to distort truths and promises that God has given humanity. So that's a battle that we're fighting right now. And it's
crazy. It's almost like I didn't plan that. But to segue into this awesome topic.
Yeah. But
that's actually seriously, I'm going to interrupt. Didn't plan this, right? Just to talk about colors, eyesight. And it's so cool how we are able to bring everything back to God.
Yep. Yeah.
And that is not a skill set. That is actually pretty easy to do in any conversation, to bring anything back to the glory of God.
Well, when he is the creator,
and
he creates everything and has created everything, then it's easy to bring it up. I agree with that. It is awesome that because it's a testament. The glory of God is displayed in all of creation, and you can't get around it. The reality is there's an intelligent creator who created everything around us, and it all works towards bringing glory to his name. The only thing that does not work towards bringing glory to God's name is the fallen, sinful man who is hiding in the darkness of sin, trying to fight God and ignore God. And the reality is he won't forever. Ultimately, everyone will have to stand before God in the judgment, in the light, and everything's exposed. There's no hiding anymore. So that's why I think that the battle that we're facing right now with the rainbow, we're going to win in the end.
Right.
Because the opposing side, they'll fade away. I hate to say it that way, because I've got love for everybody. And I don't want to see anyone.
Hey guys, turn to Jesus.
Exactly. Repent to believe. My hope is that all of humanity will repent and believe in Jesus Christ as their Savior and cling to him and not the world and what the world has to offer. That's my hope. And so I'm going to keep on speaking truth, and I'm going to keep on praying that will come about. And if you're in that community that likes to hijack the rainbow, God's promise, I just want to tell you that true fulfillment is only found in God. You're going to continue walking and wondering, and never being truly fulfilled and at peace until you repent of your sins and believe in Jesus Christ. And it's not like you're a bad sinner and I'm a good righteous person. I'm a sinner too. And I repent before the Father every single day of my sin. And I rejoice in the fact that he's forgiven me. And so I try to live according to his standards rather than my own standards, because my own standards keep on wrecking my life. But God's standards, they bring joy and fruit. So
to be fair, and just to add this, we're not perfect.
We are not.
I think there is a idea out there that, you can't be judging anybody or all that stuff, but you got to look at it more like this. We are not judging you.
Yeah.
We are out here just telling you the truth.
The American church slowly devolved into artificial righteousness. And what I mean by that is they want it moved from being in submission to Christ every day of your life, and that reveals the righteousness, to do A, B, C, and D, and you'll be a righteous person. So you do these works and you'll be considered righteous. And if you do these works, which are evil and bad, then you're a sinner and you're the scum of the earth, and get out of here. I can't even be around you because I'm righteous. And if I'm around you, then I'm not going to be righteous anymore. And I want my righteousness. So you go over there and I'll be over here and I'll keep doing my works-based righteousness. And you do your sin stuff and I'm going to go to heaven and you're going to go to hell. That's kind of the idea, the artificial righteousness.
The side of the road yelling, you need Jesus.
Yeah. So that's kind of, the church got into that. And then everybody who's not in the church started being like, man, those uppity Christians, they're all hypocrites because they don't follow the Bible that they believe in, but they're judging me for the stuff that I do. And now here we are today where the church is like so desperate to get people in the door that they'll just say like, come as you are. Your sin's okay because Jesus loves you anyway. And there's no like holding brothers and sisters in Christ accountable. For the sake of just getting people in the door.
Because it's really, for a lot of those places, it's not even, let's help these people. It's get more people so that we can
survive,
fund ourselves.
As an organization. Yeah. And that's because there was a mass exodus for our generation. Millennials left the church in record numbers because of hypocrisy.
Right.
Like that's what all the data shows, is that they were tired of hypocritical Christians judging them. And so they stopped going to church. And now here we are today, Gen Z, it's a very small percentage are actually in church. And it's because their parents stopped going.
Right.
And so they don't go. And so it's sad, but at the same time, it's exciting because there is a massive mission field in America that we as true believers in Jesus can go out and say, hey, you've been living in the world and it's now working out for you. Let me show you the truth. And we get to reveal the gospel of Jesus Christ of Nazareth to them, tell them about this true, enduring love that comes from their Creator, and that there's a way to live in joy and in peace. So it's exciting because, we get to go out and do that. And I think it's being received. I think that there's a lot of people getting saved now in this new generation because they've never heard the gospel. That's what's crazy. Like I remember growing up, I couldn't find anybody who had not heard of Jesus and who didn't have a basic Sunday school understanding of the Bible. And so it was really hard to share the gospel because it was like, oh, I know all this crap. It's just a bunch of hypocritical nonsense. I don't want to believe in that. But now there's a bunch of people out there like, wait, who's Jesus? So, it's sad because that's how far we've gone. But at the same time, it's exciting because we get to fulfill the Great Commission,
Right.
going out and making disciples. So really cool. Yeah.
I'm going to do a lot of backpedaling here. Just,
Okay.
or it's going to sound like it. To be fair, going back to the eye color thing.
Yep.
I don't believe all that. I don't know if you could tell I was struggling to argue my own point. I don't really truly believe that. I do think it's an interesting concept that I came up with.
Yeah.
But to say, do you see these colors?
Yeah, I was watching you like put it together, and I was like, I think you just came up with this.
I've
like it felt like I was like, man.
All right, I will be honest. It's been a long week. I've been sick. I think we said that already. I don't know.
Past tense, was sick.
Was sick. But I haven't had a lot of opportunity to prepare for this episode.
He got up and he got down with the sickness.
Ooh, wah, 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 wah.
Yep. Anyways, yeah, better not. Yeah, it's been pretty rough for you and for me.
Mm-hmm.
So for those who don't know, a little bit about myself.
Preach.
I am self-employed. And so my workload is 100% on me. Like, I've got to do everything. I'm a handyman. I do construction, renovation stuff. And so I've got to find the work. I've got to get it on the calendar. I've got to do the work. I've got to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
I got to collect the money. I got to do all of it. I got to keep track of what I'm spending, all that crap. So I got to do all that. So I stay pretty busy. Blessings from the Lord. It's great that I'm busy. I'm not complaining about
being busy, but
busy.
you are busy.
But I am busy. And so it's really easy to be like, well, I got to do my job because I got to make money. But we wanted to do this podcast, and we wanted to do it because of the conversation we literally just had.
Yeah. I mean, I do like, again, bringing it back to, I'm over here struggling to argue a point I don't even believe in, and we can bring it to Jesus.
And we can bring it to Jesus. And if you haven't caught on, episode 2, we're going to be talking a lot about Jesus and everything that we talk about because we love him.
We love him.
You know what else we love? Not as much as Jesus.
It's also Jesus theming, right? Or I'm thinking of Narnia. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Is there anything like that in?
Yeah, there's undertones, but I don't think in this particular one. Lord of the Rings.
Lord of the Rings. I didn't want to reveal it too early.
We are going to talk about the movie that's coming out at the end of this year, The War of the Rohirrim.
Did you ever end up watching that trailer?
Rohirrim. No, I forgot.
It looks good. I'm not going to lie.
It does look good. I've seen parts of the trailer. I've seen stuff as they've been coming out with it because I've been following it. So I just haven't watched the full official trailer that dropped. I think I don't even know how long.
So for those who don't know what this is, what is this?
So this is a movie that's based in the Middle Earth universe.
Mm-hmm.
J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings trilogy, The Hobbit, and then other writings all take place in this place called Middle Earth. And this is zeroing in on a group, or on the people group, the Rohirrim, or the people of Rohan. They are the horse people. But this happens, I don't know, it happens before the Lord of the Rings story.
I think this is after Rings of Power, but before The Hobbit.
Yes, because
that is a pretty wide range, but
yes, because this happens. They're going to go back to Helm's Deep, which is not called Helm's Deep at the time of the movie. It's called I forget. Hold on, I've got it.
While you're looking for it, it's something you missed out. It's anime.
It is an anime. So it does look pretty good. I'm excited to watch it. I don't really seen some of the cast. I'm not super familiar with all of them.
They might be more prominent voice actors in the anime.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, if you know who Brian Cox is, he's playing Helm Hammerhand, which is the
Why
king.
does that name sound familiar?
And then Miranda Otto is reprising her role as Éowyn, because she plays Éowyn in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. And I don't recognize any of these other names.
Sometimes that's okay.
So sometimes
that's good to not to.
I'm not
somebody unnamed.
So Brian Cox is known for. Do you remember Troy?
I didn't see Troy. I'm sorry.
Oh, what?
I just recently watched Gladiator for the first time.
That's
pathetic. That's sad. Right.
Trying to think of what else he's in that you would know him from.
My wife was surprised to hear that this is going to be a theatrical release, and it's not a TV show, or in episodic. It is an anime movie, which, in my opinion, usually comes out being a lot better. But
you know who he is. Like if you saw his face, you'd be like,
I saw his face a second ago. I don't recognize it.
Oh, really, dude? He's a big actor. Whatever.
Wait, is that not the guy who? He looks a little. I know it's not him, but he looks a little. I shouldn't talk. We're going to get on something real quick. I have facial blindness. I can't recognize the different faces or faces that look similar. I think they're the same person.
Yeah.
I've struggled with that. So,
anyways, but the story looks like it's promising. But it's taking place during the time of Helm Hammerhand, who after this battle that happens at Helm's Deep, they change the name of the fortress to Helm's Deep.
Mm-hmm. Also, what I kind of like is that I don't think there's anything about the rings in this. I think it's really just defending land from invaders and their people.
Yes. Yeah, it's human against human battle. But it's taking place. So the fortress was set up by the men of Gondor, and then when the men of Rohan became a people group, they obviously it was in their territory. But after this battle that the movie's focusing on, that's when they changed the name of the fortress to Helm's Deep.
Gotcha.
Because of the king Helm Hammerhand. So it should be.
He took his hammer and he hit it in that guy's head, and it went Helm's Deep.
Helm's Deep. But yeah, the citadels, the Hornburg, and it's pretty cool. So it should be pretty cool. But I love Lord of the Rings.
Right. I haven't watched it, but I'm okay with talking about it. How do you feel about Rings of Power?
So Rings of Power, I'm not like the people that are like, they took too many liberties. They should have just stuck to the story and all that other stuff. I'm fine if they get a little bit creative with it. But my biggest issue with the Rings of Power specifically is that in the name of modern ideologies,
quote unquote progressiveness,
they switched two characters, like who they are,
gender essentially.
Yeah, so they took an existing character, Gladriel, and they took an existing character, Elrond, and they personified them differently. So Elrond is like a soldier, warrior.
In the source material, the
Silmarillion. Yeah. And in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like he's the Lord of Rivendell.
Right, but specifically in what Rings of Power is based off of.
He is a politician. In Rings of Power, he's a politician who's really fluffed up, focused on his career. That's how he's presented in the story. And then Galadriel in the Rings of Power is presented as a no-nonsense warrior, just trying to do my job as a soldier. I've got a lot of trauma from my past, and I'm just seeking to fulfill my vengeance on my enemy, is how she's presented in The Rings of Power.
And it's almost like that's not what their characters are. It's almost like they should be switched.
Correct. In the Silmarillion and in other writings, Galadriel is a princess, and she's very much so political, like her and her husband. She's not in battles, right? She's a powerful, like elf queen, but she's more the politician deal, and Elrond is more the soldier warrior type. But in the show, they switched those characters, and really they tried to make it work in the story, but ultimately it was like, we need to make a hardcore warrior woman,
because we need a woman in power,
and we just need a woman that does a man's job, and we need to make it work. So let's just make the story revolve around that. And so
so the problem with that is, in the show, it's probably okay. Like, if you're watching just Rings of Power and not knowing anything about Lord of the Rings, it's probably at best, it's okay.
I'm gonna be honest.
Even you get again, I haven't watched it.
You get pretty frustrated with Galadriel's character.
Is this because you are familiar with what the character is actually supposed to be like?
No, it's because like she's presented as this, like, I am the top dog the entire time, and it just kind of gets annoying. You're just like, what the heck? Like, I don't want to watch this. This is too much. Like, because I don't know how to explain it. Like, it's like she's always trying to prove that she's number one in the show.
Yeah. Is that even how Elrond's character is in the Silmarillion, though? Or is that they took more liberties in that?
Well, let me backtrack. She's not trying to prove that she's top dog. She's not trying to prove that she's number one in the show. She's trying to find Sauron. Because she wants to kill Sauron because
she believes he's still around.
Yeah, and everyone else is like, no, he's gone.
Right.
Which, what does that sound like?
Right.
But yeah, there's some good things in it. Like they actually did the real orcs, like real orc makeup. They didn't do CGI like Peter Jackson did for the Hobbit trilogy.
All right, let me ask you this then. Should I go back and finish it? Because season 2 is just starting tomorrow, right? Or it's about to start soon. Or for season 2.
Yeah, season 2 starts tomorrow. I would say, because the saving grace of the show is 2 brand new characters that are not in any of the source material. It is an elf and a lowlands woman. And which, like, some people were like, because the elf is played by a black guy, they're like, he's not an original character, and elves are not black, and it's stupid. But like, their story inside the overall story is good. I like it, and really, like, that's what made me watch the rest of the show, was because of those 2 characters. So
I would like to say this too. There's nothing wrong with other people of color playing characters at all. Like,
no.
Like adding them into the story, whatnot. I think my biggest problem is make it make sense.
Well, some people are racist, and so that was where they were coming from. But some people, it was, I lose the immersion in the fantasy world because it's not sticking to the original source material. So, that's the issue. They're strictly speaking, they're like, if he's a high elf, he should be very fair skinned, glowing kind of deal. If he's a woodland elf, he would be more, I can't remember how J.R.R. Tolkien describes it. But high elves are like super pale because it's almost like they're glowing.
Yeah.
Like that's the idea behind it. But yeah, when J.R.R. Tolkien was writing these books, he was basing most of his writing to make it relatable to English people. And he was taking creative liberties from different mythologies like Norse mythology and Celtic and stuff like that. So when he wrote it, he didn't really write any black people into the story just because there were no black people around his area. So, you know, I don't know if he was necessarily racist, but it was just when he was writing, there wasn't a lot of black people in his life and in the stuff he was using as inspiration. But here we are today, where in America, we're very diverse. There's a lot of different people, a lot of different melanin count in our skin, and a lot of different cultures. So I don't necessarily have an issue with it because he's not a character in the source material anyways.
Right.
Like it's a brand new character that they're putting into the world. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Again, I don't think that we should throw logic out the window to just have diversity in stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my big takeaway is I like the show. A lot of the shots were pretty good. Like it looked good. And I liked these two characters that they created for the show that aren't in the source material. I like their story arc in it. What I don't like is they took existing characters and they made them completely different from who they are in the story.
Yeah.
So that's my issue is they're just not. Yeah.
So some aspects of it.
They took a name and just made a brand new person with it.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
And the problem with that is then if you want to continue, if you want to look at this all as one source of media, we're watching all these shows, movies, and you get to Lord of the Rings and all of a sudden you're like, is this the same person? Because they're not.
Yeah.
As the way they're written, they're not the same person.
Yeah. And so, and that's what's frustrating is that it's like, I know who Galadriel is from the books and from the original movies. Peter Jackson does a pretty decent job making her kind of consistent. So it's frustrating to like, you get into this and the name Galadriel is being thrown at you a lot, but then the person looks nothing like and is acting nothing like that character. So it's just like,
Speaking of Galadriel and segue, have you seen how terrible the Borderlands movie is doing? Sorry, Kate Blanchett is in both Lord of the Rings and the new Borderlands movie.
Oh, no, I have not seen. I didn't even. I'm sure I knew about it, but I did not.
So Borderlands is a film based off of the 2K video game series Borderlands.
Which aren't they coming out with like Borderlands 3 or 4 or something?
They just announced that they're making Borderlands 4.
Borderlands 4. Okay.
Borderlands, the movie, had a budget of like $100-something million, and it made only $4 million.
Her character's name is Lilith?
Yeah.
Dude, that's like a demon.
Yeah.
Is that who she is in the story? She's a demon?
No, she's like some sort of phoenix one. I'm not fully familiar with the plot of Borderlands.
Okay.
The issue here is Kate Blanchett and Jamie Lee Curtis are both in this film. So is Kevin Hart. Jack Black is in it. The only casting that made sense to me was Jack Black because he's using his voice and he's voicing a robot. The weird thing here is Lilith, which is being played by Kate Blanchett, is like in her 20s in the game. Kate Blanchett's like...
She's in her like 50s or 60s.
50s or 60s. Same situation with Jamie Lee Curtis. So essentially, they cast all of these close to elderly people to play these
close to
okay, fine, elderly people to play these characters who are super young.
Mm.
And it's like, it's really weird because you can see what they're doing of, let's put they didn't trust that this movie was going to do well unless they put big names on it.
Yeah.
And like, even Kevin Hart's character, which might be age range casted correctly, just doesn't look like his character. Like, it's just like, it just doesn't work. None of it works. And no one was interested. I remember being at the movies and seeing the trailer for that again, like fairly recently. Like, hey, when is that coming out? It's like, oh, it's been out for a week. No one knew about this movie.
Oopsie.
So there was, like, you put all these big names on it, and then, you know, they just seem like they don't care. So
yeah, I'm gonna.
I'll watch it when
I'm gonna be honest.
Whenever it's like on streaming or something, but I just had no urge to go see this movie at all.
The past 4 years of movies, not been that great.
I think just because the sheer number of movies I do go see, I think I can take more risks because of my subscription I have to go to the movies.
Look at me. Clear. Money is not an issue.
No, but seriously, like, I feel like movies have actually, I do agree that it's been on a downward slope. I believe they've gotten better over the last couple of years. I have not going and seeing movies. I haven't seen as many terrible ones as I had the past couple of years. The problem with that this year, though, and I think, it's a problem, but it's also okay. This year's movies, if you look, not a single movie, except for maybe 2 or 3, are either original ideas, remakes. Hold on, I'm sorry, I got off track there.
You good?
The only things that are in theaters right now are remakes, sequels, and there's like, well, I'm sorry, I'm blanking on what the third thing I need to say here, but remakes and sequels, that's all it is.
Yeah.
Like this year, I think there was like 2 or 3 movies, and maybe out of those, maybe one of them was okay. IP recognition is huge.
Yeah.
So for you to go see something like Deadpool 3, which I thought was a great movie, but it's not an original idea in the sense of like, let's go see something that we came up with that's brand new and what am I trying to say? Specified and
brand new thing.
Brand new thing.
Yeah, but
I think
Deadpool and Wolverine, I haven't seen it yet, but it has been it's what's keeping Marvel afloat.
It really is. And it's kind of sad when something that vulgar is.
Yeah.
I will say, I was talking with my wife about this.
My wife.
The vulgarity of Deadpool 3, oddly enough, feels genuine.
Yeah.
Because they establish it in its world. I saw a thing where it's like the MCU now has 172 F-bombs in it now.
Mm-hmm.
Before, it was only 1. That F-bomb in Guardians of the Galaxy feels so forced and ungenuine.
Yeah. Because
they established that is not a thing in that movie. And then when it happens out of the blue, it just feels so like, why is this? This is weird. And we're talking about just from the point of view of watching a movie. If you're talking about morally speaking, shouldn't be in any movies.
Yeah.
But with that being said, with Deadpool, because it's established that is just how that is, you kind of tune it out after a while.
Yeah.
And
Canadians have a way of doing that.
Mm-hmm. It feels genuine. It feels real. It feels like it's part of this world.
Canadians and Australians, man. What is it? Like they can just cuss and everyone's like, okay. Yeah.
Right. But yeah, it was, I did enjoy watching that movie, but I think a lot of it is doing the thing that Marvel is good at that helps you draw you in, which is bring in the cameos, bring in the references, and tie everything back in together.
Dude, think about this. Hugh Jackman and Ray Gunn are from the same place.
Mm-hmm. One can dance, one can't. I'll let you figure out who's who.
But just think about that. Like, Australia just breeds all kinds of people, you know?
All kinds of monstrous animals as well.
Yeah. They're all small, though.
Mm.
I mean, crocodiles can get big, but like everything in Australia that will kill you is small. It's the most lethal thing in the world.
I want to bring up one other movie I saw that was original this year that I thought was great, and I don't think it did. If. Have you seen If?
Oh, no. I haven't. I wanted to.
That's another Ryan Reynolds movie.
But we didn't go. Yeah, we didn't go see it.
If is a really good. It's about imaginary friends. IF. And this little girl trying to bring all the imaginary friends and finding a home for them. It was an original movie I saw this year. It did very poorly, I think.
Yeah, apparently it didn't do that great.
I guess people just want to see things they're familiar with.
Yeah.
But
what can you do?
Right. Hey.
I don't know about you.
What shoe size you wearing there, buddy?
What shoe size?
Yeah.
I'm wearing a size 10.
That's a big foot.
Nice. Which brings us into what we're going to talk about. The Bigfoot. So what do you know about Bigfoot, Jairus?
His feet are big. He's some hairy ape that walks the streets of forests. And his life is terrible because he's really blurry in real life.
Got it. Okay.
Everything I know about Bigfoot is in the Goofy movie. He really likes chicken noodle soup. Or alphabet soup is what it was.
What about Harry and the
Hendersons?
Hendersons, yeah.
I've never seen that movie.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh. Well.
He's a Bigfoot, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he's Bigfoot.
Sasquatch. Yep. Sashmo.
Sasquatch is another term, another name
player?
for him. The trumpet player? What?
Sashmo.
Oh, no. The skunk ape is another word for him. Down here in the South, that's what people call them. But it is a...
Are you telling me that... So when I point at that creature, do you see the same creature I see? Does he have the same colored fur?
So, fun fact, there are different colored or different fur colors or hair colors. So, people have reported seeing black-haired Sasquatch. They've reported seeing red-haired Sasquatch, and then brown are kind of the common ones. But they're seen all over the world, but we're just going to focus on America. They're seen a lot all across the United States. But it tends to be, close to large wilderness areas. So like Appalachian Mountains, the mountains out west and Midwest, and it's typically where they're seen, but it's a...
Dude, you showed me that tracker site of all the reported sightings of Bigfoot. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, and that's just... It's like over it's almost 4,000 sightings, but it's like dated from... I don't remember when it's like early 2000s. So that's just the early 2000s that people are... Well, no, I've got one here from the 1980s. So probably the last 70 years is all these sightings. And this is not an up-to-date map either.
Right.
So here's the issue is this whole Sasquatch cryptid creature. There's a lot about it, and there's a lot of camps that have different opinions on it.
Right.
But, everyone's seeing this tall, like average 6 to 8 foot ape-like creature, covered in hair, stands on 2 legs, walking around in the woods.
Sounds like my Uncle Ricky.
Yeah. So Ricky is getting around a lot. But that's what everybody
needs to go to the barber.
Yeah, Ricky does. But that's
Ricky Barber.
Ricky Barber. So, but the big thing, this is what I find interesting is that.
By the way, I want to say this. Probably one of the most, if not the face of cryptids.
Yeah, he really is. The Bigfoot is like, Bigfoot is to cryptid creatures what chickens are to homesteaders and conspiracy theories. If you get chickens, you will fall into the camp of homesteading and a huge distrust of the government, and you start deep diving into conspiracies about the government, and you'll start looking at other animals and ways to grow crops and become independent.
Don't you own chickens?
I do. And look at us now. We've got goats and chickens and
in a podcast.
In a podcast. But
you're on your way to having 15 children.
Dude, no. But I mean, dude, like we butcher chickens at the beginning of summer every year so that we've got a chest full of chicken meat, or a chest freezer full of chicken meat, and we get
what do you call that?
Pigs chest freezer?
No. What do you call chicken meat?
Chicken meat?
Yeah, it's just chicken.
Yeah, it's just chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's one of the few, like.
No, but we get specific meat birds and we raise them and then we butcher them in bulk. So I've got like 30 birds.
Okay. Let me ask this. I know that is it only with birds, right? That we have just the one meat, right? With pigs and cows, you can get different types of meat from those animals, but you only have chicken. I know you get eggs from chicken, but when we're talking about.
Well, so like with pigs and cows, it's not different meat, it's different cuts.
Right.
So that's why it's named differently. But I mean, yeah, chickens and rabbits are smaller. Like they're really small. Turkeys you could kind of throw in there too. So they don't have a whole lot of prep cuts they can do. So it's really just legs, breasts, and wings.
Gotcha.
And those are the 3 things. And for rabbits, it's really just, you wouldn't really cut up a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
You would cook it whole because it's small. So, but yeah, bigger animals get into bigger deals. I mean, you're going from, 14 pounds of meat. That's like the maximum you would get from like a turkey, like 14 to 18 pounds. To
Great Thanksgiving.
200 pounds on a pig.
Yeah.
So it varies. But anyways, back on Sasquatch.
I want to go back up a little bit. I had a good segue back.
Okay, back up a little bit.
Okay, here we go. So you're saying that those, birds, chickens, and rabbits, they're small?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what's not small?
What?
Bigfoot. Go.
There we go. But yeah, he's kind of the intro into all this stuff, like with aliens and the dog man and the Mothman and all that other stuff. But a lot of people, dude, there's like a lot of different camps inside this whole Bigfoot Sasquatch deal. So there's people that are like, no, it's just an ape that's in North America. And there are people like, nah, dude, it's an extraterrestrial.
I would say, I'm not saying it's not real, but or is not real. I'm not a believer I believe in Jesus, not in Bigfoot.
T-shirt.
There you go. That's going to be our first merch drop. But
okay, but let me
say this: if it is an animal out there, the logic I would say would be a bear, like a bear that's standing on its hind legs. That would be my guess.
And that's what people say that are like, no, there's not an ape-like creature out there. It's a bear. People are seeing bears. But the issue is that there's thousands of sightings that all say the same creature that doesn't look like a bear because it has the facial structure of an ape.
Mm-hmm.
It has the hand and feet structure of a humanoid ape-like creature. It doesn't have claw, or they don't see claws. They see fingernails. They see fingers. They don't see paws. And they don't see a bear snout with an elongated snout with teeth. They see a snubbed, flat face. So, it is a very and it's not like people are, how do I say this? Like, there's enough people out there describing the exact same creature, and there's a lot of pictures and videos and stuff like that all kind of say like it's this. So
okay, well, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
All right, so hypothetically it's real, right? And what would be the benefit of hiding this creature? So from what I've seen and heard on, podcasts, videos, whatnot, this is a cryptid. This is a creature that's hidden. No, everybody sees everywhere, but no one can confirm it's real. The excuse is the government's hiding it, stifling, saying this isn't real. What is the benefit of not knowing this thing exists?
That's a good question. But there are certain government bodies in certain states that have passed legislation regarding the Bigfoot creature. So it's not totally disregarded everywhere. And there is a lot of people that have brought forth evidence to say like it is a real creature, not just eyewitness accounts. Like people have foot casts from where they found a footprint and they casted it in the ground and brought it in.
Again, that's my Uncle Ricky.
Yep. People have brought in, and that's in the thousands. Like people have found a lot of these footprints, hair samples, blood samples in the woods. They've brought them in. They don't match other animals. It's something different. So there is DNA that's circulating out there for a different kind of species that is not in the official creature encyclopedia. Yeah. So that's why it's called that's why it's in the cryptid spectrum. But I don't know why people would want to disregard it, but everyone believed that it was a creature and was fine that it existed up until about the 50s. And then everyone's like, no, it's not real. It's made up. It's fake. People who see it are crazy, or they're doing something stupid, or they're on some sort of drug. And now it's kind of turning back around. Now a lot of people are being like, no, I think it's real. I think there's something real out there. And I think that the reason today why that is because we've had, since the 60s to maybe 2015, we've had science.
He's doing air quotes.
Air quotes. Science is the ultimate truth. And science gives me all the answers to the universe, has been kind of the talking point. And it's not true.
Yeah.
Because the science that's been pushed is not answering questions anymore that people have. And it's denying things that people are bringing forth as like, hey, I think this is real. It's like, nope, that's not real, because it doesn't fit into the narrative of science. And so, it's kind of like the atheism, like humanism, atheism has created its own religion and is trying to be the predominant religion in America. And so it's put out propaganda to stifle other beliefs.
We believe not to believe.
Exactly. And so, and it's kind of indoctrinated people to not really practice the scientific method anymore, but rather to just regurgitate the talking points
and just believe it
and deny anything contrary or new. And so, that's kind of, and a lot of like the everyday people like you and me that aren't a scientist are like, well, that's stupid. So I'm just going to not care about science and just do me. So, but there's also the crazier side of Bigfoot, which is the extraterrestrial / other dimension
side of Bigfoot.
So people are like, he's the reason that Bigfoot comes and goes so quickly
because he's
stepping in and out of dimensions. He's got a portal that they know how to manipulate portals. So they step in and out of portals and they're going back and forth between another dimension and our dimension.
What if Bigfoot is a time traveler? And he is purposefully just stepping right in front of all the cameras.
Yeah. Well, but
the reason why he's blurry is when he comes through that portal. It's all the portal energy waving around him.
Turns out Bigfoot's just a narcissistic person from the future.
Look at me and my big feet. Take pictures of me.
Yeah. He's coming back in time to get photo shots so that people will be like, whoa, Bigfoot. And then he goes back to the future where he's a nobody. But Bigfoot is interesting. And really, I guess we should have done Bigfoot
first,
episode 1.
Yeah, because that is a good starting point.
Yeah.
But
I really wanted to talk about satyrs last time.
He said, you're going second, big boy.
No, but yeah. But Bigfoot, I think I'm on that line of like, I think there is something out there. I'm okay if there's not.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to wreck my world, but I'm also okay if there is something. Like, I'm not in denial of it.
Right. What changes if there is, or what changes if there isn't?
Nothing changes either way for me.
Right.
I think if everyone accepted that Bigfoot was real, I really don't know if anything would change. Because the closest thing I could relate it to is the gorillas in the mountains in Congo.
Mm-hmm.
No one believed that there were gorillas there. They didn't believe they existed until they found a troop of them in like the 1930s or something like that. Like, it's really recent.
Mm-hmm.
And now now it's documented. And there's people going into the woods and they're videoing and taking pictures of these gorilla families because they finally found them, So Sasquatch, yeah, I don't know. I feel like it would be that if it truly is a bipedal ape,
just another animal,
then eventually someone is going to build up a relationship with them or with a group of them and be able to put forth information about it. And I'm sure there are people out there right now that do that. But they just keep it in their communities because they don't want to be called a hack or a loony. Because that's the big issue, is that there are people out there doing research and studying and getting information about these creatures or whatever this thing is. But then they're automatically slandered by the science people. So, so they kind of have created their own community and they stay inside that community. So if you want to find out about Bigfoot, just go find a Bigfoot community.
Just search Bigfoot.
Yeah.
On the internet, or just go outside and search for Bigfoot.
Yeah, if you type in Bigfoot sightings on Google, you can find a GIS map that pins all the different sightings that have been documented. It's a lot.
So it is interesting to me because, again, I don't believe in Bigfoot, but it is interesting to see how many people are saying,
yeah,
I see this thing.
And I'll tell you this, you don't believe in Bigfoot because you haven't seen it and because you've been told your entire life it's not real. The moment you start, if you do a deep dive into Bigfoot and you start looking at all the information that's out there about it, you'll start going like, well, maybe.
So this is to all the atheists out there. Just because you've been told Jesus isn't real doesn't mean he isn't real.
That's right.
Why don't you do a deep dive on the Bible?
Stop looking at churches and saying that's what Christianity is, and do a deep dive into the Bible and see what the Bible has to say about Jesus. But yeah, that's really what it is, because I went from being like, yeah, I don't think Bigfoot exists, to being on the fence about it. So, and it's just because of all the information I've consumed and reviewed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. And that's pretty much it. That's all I got.
That's it.
So, I'm going to join us next week for all of our fun topics that we're going to be talking about.
Thank you for joining us on this wonderful, extra long episode of the STS podcast.
Dude, that was a long conversation.
It felt good. Good, yeah.
I enjoyed it. Maybe next time we'll consolidate our Star Wars
stuff. Well, we will actually stay on topic.
Yeah.
That might just be these episodes. I mean, I'm okay with that if this turns into us start talking about one thing and just completely getting off track.
Yeah.
Because you know what? We'll bring it back to Jesus in one way or another.
That's right. But yeah, episode 2
in the books. Next next week's episode, give you a little preview here.
Yep.
Leave you with something to think about for leading into next week. Is ice cream really cold? So on next episode, we'll talk about that.
All right.
All right.
Y'all have a good night. Much love. God bless you.